going on, everybody? Manny here. So today I'm going to talk about the 5 things that I love about my Lexus ISF. A while ago I did some of the 5 things that I hate. I was going to follow up with a video of 5 things that I love, but just never came. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe if you enjoy my channel. Gonna bring some more car content. Just a little bit about me. I love cars. I bought the Lexus ISF to bring recognition to it as one of my first cars on the channel. You know, you love snow until you don't. It's getting really old. Although pretty soon I'm gonna have to buy those summer tires, so I guess I'll enjoy my snow a little bit more. It is super loud when it's cold. Honestly, I feel bad for Texas. Praying for all those people struggling with the snow. Some people are just complaining for nothing. Like, I get not wanting the cold, but unless you're suffering with power outages, unless you're, you know, in a bad spot, freezing, it's not that bad. First thing I love about my Lexus ISF is its sleeper status, right? There's sleepers like the Chevy SS, there's sleepers like the Impala SS, you know, Ford Taurus Show, and over the years I've considered all of those cars. One thing I didn't like was, I mean, okay, if we're talking an M5, not only is it expensive to repair, expensive to maintain, but another thing is it's not really a sleeper. You know, if people are looking at an M5, you know what it is. You almost immediately know that it's designed to be a sports car. I've seen people and I've heard people that know nothing about cars, you know what M5s are. So not really sleeper status as much as I want it to be. Ford Taurus Show, not enough power. It was too heavy. Not really all that fun. Impala SS, similar situation. Most of the time I want something that looks completely different, but it looks like an IS, and that's exactly what I wanted. I didn't want to draw all the attention to me, and I thought that was cool. Number 2, the V8 under the hood. It's really hard to find a car these days that has the engine that I want, right? So a lot of cars are going turbo. Going back to the Ford Taurus Show, even the Ford Fusion has a turbo, okay? So mainstream cars, let's call them, most cars, especially the you know, newer cars, have V6s, 4 cylinders, which are perfectly fine, but looking for a performance car, again, I didn't want to deal with the turbo that comes stock straight from the factory, especially with EcoBoost, you know, engines. Those are known to fail. I had a Subaru WRX, which wasn't enough power, but the other thing was it's notorious for failing, and just not having a good time, more or less. So that is my number 2, is the fact that it has a V8, and I fell in love with that, being in such a small car. It's still a heavy car, no less, but being in such a small car, definitely something I enjoyed. So number 3, so the third thing I really love about my Lexus ISF is exactly what I'm doing right now. So when I was finding a car, let's say for example I bought a Mustang Corvette. Those are some of my other options that I was looking at, but I was also considering something that I could drive year-round, because my first option was to buy a car, any car that I wanted, basically, like a Mustang or Corvette or, you know, what have you, and then buy a second SUV to drive during winter months so as to not get salt on my car. That was a great, most common alternative. My neighbor does that. He drives a I think it's a Hellcat, then drives a cheap SUV for winter, so he prevents it from getting salty, and also keeps it nice and low miles. But I didn't want to do that because, as I've said in many of my previous videos, I wanted to put myself in a scenario like a lot of people. I didn't want to have to buy a car and store it for like 6 months out of the year, or however long, or drive it on weekends. That just doesn't make sense to me. Even if you pay for a car cash, like say for a lot of the people that can afford to have exotic cars and put their exotic cars away or only drive one of a few, that's great, but most people can't do that. And it just doesn't make sense to me to pay for a car cash, basically have $50,000 to $60,000 sitting in a garage, or even in this case it would have been 35 to 40 for a really nice example, maybe 25 to 30 for a good example, but not the best. And it just didn't make sense to me, so I wanted to buy a car that I could drive year-round, and it does that. So the third thing, just to recap, the third thing I really like about the Lexus ISF is that with all the different modes, it performs well enough to drive basically year-round. So that is the other thing I'm gonna mention, is sport mode is available to me. Sport mode is available to me whenever I want it. So even when it's not winter months, I could drive it full throttle, and then if I'm just cruising, like the throttle response in sport mode is significantly different. So you get that like rompy V8 that you've come to expect. You could get sport mode if you really want it, but it's not like a lot of newer cars where you get sport, eco, normal, track. Like, that would have been cool, but it was 2008 to 2014. Like, what can you expect? The fifth, albeit it was very hard, the transmission in the ISF was, to my knowledge, ahead of its time. It probably wasn't the best transmission overall out of every car, but in terms of the price range, the transmission that you got that wasn't like DCT, like super innovative, the transmission shifts great. You have these beautiful, in my opinion, paddle shifters which respond pretty well, and again, to my knowledge, they were the best, or one of the best paddle shifters offered for its time. Overall, this car is showing its age, but if you're thinking of like a driver's luxury car, this is definitely one of the top even today. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed my content. Check out my other YouTube videos as well. Just remember, stay positive, stay ambitious. You too can own your dream car.